Hi, everyone. My name's Andrea Akici. I've been a member here at Sideris Church for 5 years now, next month actually, so praise God for that. I was really excited when Dave asked me to tell my story tonight, mostly because I never saw myself as a person who would be giving my testimony on Christmas Eve in front of a congregation. But if there's anything that I have learned over these past 5 years, is that it is so true that God chooses very unexpected people to deliver his message and to do his good work. So that's a little actually less about what my message is about tonight, but I am going to speak a little bit about how God has shown his love for me in the past year and really the past 2 years of my life. So I never thought I would marry a Christian, which is maybe surprising. It was kind of surprising to Dave when I told him that a few days ago, because I've grown up a Christian. I've always gone to church. But as I was dating and, living my life through my 20s, even though I was pursuing God, when I looked around at church and in my Christian friend circles, I didn't see anybody who was quite like me. I think I struggled with, being a Christian, but also liking to have a little bit too much fun. And sometimes those two things didn't, in my mind, seem like they could really go together, or that I would be the type of woman that a Christian man would want to marry, or that a Christian man would be entertaining enough for me, honestly. I was wrong. But as I was, pursuing God and pursuing my faith, I saw this disconnect, and I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot for my own heart. I prayed for my future husband, whoever that might be, that God would be working in his heart, and that God would be opening the right doors or closing the wrong doors as I was, dating and trying to figure out who was going to be my husband. And so when I met Urson, he was not a Christian, which worked out well for kind of this idea that I had in my mind that I would maybe not marry a Christian, but I knew my faith was so strong that I could lead my family, and even if I didn't marry a Christian, that I would just need somebody who was supportive, and somebody who would show up to church with me, and it was okay if they weren't a Christian because I got it. God was working in me, and I could lead my family. I felt strong, and I told Urson this on our second date when he told me that he had heard through the grapevine that I was looking for a 6'2" Christian man, and as a 6' Turkish man, he fell a little bit short. I'm kidding. But what was how God kind of began revealing himself in our relationship as Urson and I got closer, and we had a lot of open conversations about my faith. Because like I said, I had been praying about it. Like, I knew being a Christian was so important to me, and I just needed somebody who would be willing to show up with me, even if they weren't going to be the leader of my family. And Urson was doing all that. I actually didn't invite him to church. He asked if he could come with me, and it was so encouraging. And early on in our relationship, I had a conversation with Dave, and we were talking about how I was dating this person, and it was getting pretty serious. And, he wasn't a Christian, but he was such a good guy and so supportive. And, Dave encouraged me to look for signs of the Spirit. And not too long after that, Urson suggested that we do an Alpha course together. And for those of you guys who don't know what Alpha is, it's a 10-week course where you get into small groups and you kind of hear messages on the basics of Christianity, and you discuss them in a small group setting. And I had actually done it before. I had been a helper at a table. Sideris does it once a year. And so we went through Alpha. We had a lot of challenging conversations. God choosing to use unexpected people. I never thought I would find myself in such intense conversations about my faith and actually, really deeply considering my faith with somebody who's really smart and analytical and remembers everything that he hears and wants to research things more. And it's just very different than my personality. And I had never been challenged in my faith like that to really think about why I believed in things. I grew up in the church and I believed in Jesus and I knew God loved me and at that time it seemed like enough for me and I think God was really showing me that it wasn't enough and there was so much more to know about him and so just in this dating relationship I was getting pursued more by God than I was by Urson in some ways. I don't mean that as a negative thing. But fast forward a little bit, we went through Alpha. Urson continued going to church with me. We continued having really challenging conversations and really being on a journey together, as he explored Jesus for the first time. And I kind of took a closer look at, what it was that I was believing and really tried to articulate God's love for me and, all the promises of the church. So fast forward to 8 months ago now, we did Alpha for a second time. This time we led a table. I was actually the leader and Urson was the helper, but through those 10 weeks, I really saw how the script flipped on me and Urson became the leader. And it was just so much joy and so much encouragement to, watch Urson become a leader in the church when I thought that was supposed to be my role. And, it wasn't a role that I was really that comfortable with as I started, wrestling with it and working together with him. He was just much more of a natural. And so that led Urson to get baptized in June. And then in September, I married a Christian. Much to my surprise, but all of this story is really not to talk about so much Urson and my relationship, but really how God has revealed his love for me through giving me this gift of a Christian husband, and how I've watched God reveal myself through Urson's growth in his faith, and how I started dating somebody who had never been to a church service, and I'm now married to somebody who I know is going to lead our family and challenge our family to take us to consider Jesus in ways that I had never, would have thought possible. So praise God for that. Praise God for love, and I hope that you guys all find encouragement in this season of life wherever you're at.